Recorded.
So before I go any further, just to kind of sum up, I know this is your first call on here, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong. But to sum up what this one is about, we have two other people that teach real estate that are really good. And I do wholesaling. So what my job is, what's going on, Curtis? My job is to show people how to find deals that are off market, and basically specifically for investors. So that whole thing, Alexis, how you doing? That whole thing is called wholesaling. So because some of you were on the other call, I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about what wholesaling is, to kind of catch you up to speed. Basically, essentially, wholesaling is going out there and finding off-market deals, finding sellers that want to sell at a deep discount. Once you have that seller over here that wants to sell at a deep discount, and I'm talking about pennies on the dollar, sometimes half or more of what the house would be worth if it was fixed up. Then you have to find a buyer that wants to buy homes like that and has the resources and the time and the expertise to flip those houses. So you got to understand, they spend a lot of time, the people who flip houses, just like me right now, I'm out here in front of this freaking house, excuse me, at 9 o'clock at night. We spend a lot of time on properties, right? And so if we spend so much time on properties, we don't have enough time to find the next property. And so the next property is the one that is on our mind, because we already got this one. We kind of already got our profit margin that we're based off of this one. But as soon as I sell this property, I have to do something with that money, and I have a small amount of time to do it in, or I get hit with capital gains taxes, right? So a lot of times people who flip houses, they want to quickly get into the very next house, all right? But because they're so inundated with their own project, they don't have time to go look for the next good deal. And that's specifically who the type of people I like to work for. So I'm what they call a wholesaler. I'm a real estate investor. And what I do is I find the seller with the deep discounted properties, and I find the buyer who has the money, and I connect the two, and I make a profit in between. So essentially, if I get somebody to sell me a house for $40,000, I will then tell the buyer, the person who wants to flip it, hey, this house is going to be worth $180,000 once you fix it up, and it's going to cost you, $50,000 to fix it up, and I'm selling it to you for $50,000. So my contract with the seller is for $40,000. I do a contract with the buyer for $50,000. So I make the difference of that $40,000 and $50,000, which is $10,000. The buyer ends up buying it for $50,000, putting $50,000 into it. So they're totally in it for $100,000, and then they go ahead and flip it up and then sell it for $180,000. And so that's in a nutshell, that's the gist of things. So now that we kind of go on the overall, some of you weren't on that call, go back and look at week 1 and week 2 of the wholesaling course. Today, I'm going to go, because I feel bad because my guy's out here, I'm going to go through probably about 30, 35 minutes, and then open it up for question and answer, Q&A on some of the things that we're talking about, okay? So one of the hardest parts of wholesaling is finding good deals. If you find a good deal, never forget this, okay? If you find a good deal, actually, let me tell it to you like this. Probably no one on this call is looking to buy a Ferrari right now. Maybe you are, but probably actively looking and Googling and going test driving. Probably no one right now is actually looking to buy a Ferrari, honestly, and with the money to do it. But if let me just throw somebody, put it on mute here real quick. But if I said, hey, I got this Ferrari, it's worth $260,000, but I'm selling it right now for $40,000, who here would then all of a sudden be in the market for a Ferrari? Pretty much everybody, right? You would find some way, somehow, to find $40,000 to get this Ferrari. So it's the very same thing with houses. if you find a good deal, then you will be able to offload that property. Does that make sense? The hardest part, what's going on, Caleb? The hardest part of wholesaling is finding a good deal. Okay. If you find a good deal, you can find the seller or you can find the buyer. So if you can find the seller that's willing to take a little bit of money for their property because of whatever situation they're in, you can now find a buyer. Okay. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you a couple of tools that you can use.
Yeah, that's why Timmy went in the house like Rambo, because he got training.
I do this, man. I do this. I don't play around. I went into one house, man. This is a quick story. I went into one house when I was a cop. I was a SWAT team in Miami, and where is it at? There we go. And we went in the house, just me and my partner. We saw a guy sleeping in the back. He was sleeping on a cot, and we woke him up, you know, and we took him out, ran him. Ended up being wanted for murder.
Oh, like, wow.
Ohio. And then he was talking to us, man, and we flipped over his pillow. He had a 44 Magnum underneath his pillow, man. And he was like, man, you guys are lucky I did not hear you coming in. He's like, he said he swore he was not going back to jail. So yeah, if you guys missed that, you can go look in the group me, but I don't play around. All right, so there's a couple different things that you can do. I'm gonna show you some free stuff, and then I'm gonna show you some stuff that you can pay for. Okay, so here's what you can do. We can check off all these on Zillow. Everybody knows Zillow. Go on to recently sold. All right, and we want to make sure that it's only houses. So we want to uncheck all this. All right, only houses. Okay, I got my prices as any. I have my bathrooms at any. Bedrooms are at any. Only houses, and I'm looking for sold in the last 12 months. Okay, and I'm gonna hit apply. Now, this is Atlanta. This is where I primarily work at. Right now, I'm in Macon. I'm way down here somewhere. Yeah, I'm somewhere down here. I don't know. Down here in Macon. But yeah, that's where I'm at right here. But where I primarily wholesale at, because I live up here, closer up here, is in Macon. So you want to find out where the investors are buying properties at. Where are the hot zip codes? Where are the hot areas where people are buying? Why? Because if you see that a lot of people are buying in one particular area, then normally the demographics are roughly the same. Okay, so let's just cut to the chase and just put it like, say it like how it is. There are going to be less people that go into financial trouble and lose their house or need to sell their house at a deep discount in an affluent area than there are in areas where they're not so affluent. Okay, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, they have a real problem if they cannot pay their taxes. I need you guys to understand this, okay? If you are a homeowner and you lose your job and you're living paycheck to paycheck and you've been struggling and you haven't been able to pay your taxes on your house, and that happens for about 2 years, this county, which is in Atlanta, Fulton County, will say, listen, Tommy, we understand that you are a good person. We understand that you work hard and you lost your job and you haven't been able to find work, but we are the Fulton County government and we need those tax dollars. If you do not pay us our tax dollars, we are going to put your house up for auction and we're going to kick you and your family out on the street. Now, I know you guys have a good heart. You wouldn't do that. But the county of Fulton County and any county in the United States will. No matter what your sob story is, they will kick you out of your house if you do not pay your taxes. Now, there's a process, okay? We're not going to get into that process of it, right? Because every county is different. But nevertheless, if me and my family are in a house and I can't afford to pay my taxes, they're going to put me out of my house. They're going to take my house. They're going to sell it at auction, and I'm going to be homeless with $0. I know you guys probably can't see my hand, but with no money. All right. So you, as a wholesaler, have a duty. You have an obligation to find these people and help them. Same thing with people who are going through hard times and they're about to get foreclosed on. The bank does not care whether or not they have 2.5 kids and a dog, and they lost their job and they can't pay their mortgage. They will give them a couple of months, but eventually they will take that house to auction and kick that entire husband and wife and 2.5 kids and dog out to the curb and give them $0. We as wholesalers, we as investors have the opportunity to help them at least put money in their pocket. And that's the way you have to look at that. You are helping these people who have these financial difficulties. Sometimes it's not always that, but typically with houses like these, what I'm about to show you, you're going to see the same stories over and over and over again. Okay. So if you're looking for properties, like this is all the properties that have been sold in the last 12 months that have been put on Zillow. And these can range from, you know, investor properties to $1 million mansions, right? But obviously the towns that have $1 million mansions, they're going to have less people that are going through financial hardships that are going to have their properties forcefully taken, like the ones I just described to you. Does that make sense? So because of that, we want to narrow down our price. Now, this is where knowing your market is. I know on the west side of Atlanta, right? I know on the southwest side of Atlanta, northwest side of Atlanta, I know that if I can find a house in there that is somewhere around between $40,000 to about $70,000 in that price range, then that is a low market price, and that it was probably bought by an investor. So if you live in Beverly Hills, you're going to look for the lower end of whatever houses are selling for in Beverly Hills. If you're living in Macon, like the town I'm living in right now, this property I bought for this is a duplex. I bought it for $16,500 with tenants in place, but my tenants obviously ripped my stuff out. So you got to know the market that you're in. Everybody knows what the affluent neighborhoods are and where the lower income neighborhoods are. You're looking for more of the lower income neighborhoods, but those neighborhoods that are on the verge of coming up, the ones where investors are purchasing it. So I'm going to put my max here. I'm going to start off with, let's say, with $50,000, right? See what that takes me down to. Okay, so we see we removed a lot of properties. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. So now, houses that are going for that were sold within the last 12 months. Look at where that little cluster is. We know up here, Buckhead, that area. I know that particular area is a affluent neighborhood. I know I'm not gonna find too many houses. You're gonna see some here and there, right? But you're not gonna find too many houses. This is not an area I'm gonna be really spending a whole bunch of time in. Let's see if we can narrow it down even more. Let's see if we take it down to 40,000. Okay, even less, but we can still see that cluster is really strong in this particular area. Let me zoom in. Oops, I went the wrong way. All right, so right now I have an investor. This is a true story. I just got a phone call today they told me they got $2.5 million they want to spend by the end of January, right? It's a group of NFL players. They got $2.5 million that they want to spend by the end of January, but they want turnkey properties, okay? So if I want to find properties that are turnkey for them, I would probably boost my price up because I'm tailoring it to them, right? Because I know the turnkey means that it has to be already fixed up. All these properties that are being sold here for $38,000. Let's just click on this one, see if we get a picture of it. These properties are going to look like this, right? You can kind of see what that looks like there. Okay, this is a property that I would look for, and I would try to find the owner. The address is right here. I would find the owner and skip trace them. Okay. Let me get out of this real quick. All right. So let's just say I want to. This Grove Park area is a hot neighborhood. So let's just say I want to concentrate right in this area right here. Okay. Now, all I need to do is do a couple things. I need to find out what zip code is this, and that's really easy. All I got to do is click on the property, 30318. Okay. Now I have that as an area. So 30318, I know is a hot area. I'm going to go through each one of these. Now remember, what am I looking at here? These yellow dots represent recently sold properties. These houses are recently sold within the last. Yo.
Hey, this house, this say it's sold for $3,500. The 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 497 Holly Street, Northwest. Like the picture, the third one from the left. Yeah,
3,500. Yeah. Yep. In the last 12 months. You got this one right here that sold for 2,000. Right? You got this one right here that sold for 5,000.
Hey.
Right? So these things happen, guys. These things happen, right? I bought houses for 1,200. I bought houses for 4,000. I've bought houses for 12,000.
The house you bought for 1,200. What did you make off of it?
That one was down here in Macon, and I made in less than 2 weeks, I made $18,000 off that one property.
Off of $1,200 investment?
Off of a $1,200 investment in 2 weeks. So.
I'm actually from Macon, man. I know a lot of people out there with all the stuff right now. I'm gonna make some phone calls tomorrow.
Well, Macon, man, Macon's a pretty hot neighborhood, a hot area.
Yeah, that's why I'm from that area. I'm from Fulton County, but like it's a couple of people that's in our program. They actually live in Macon. They family like real deep in like Mercer, the Mercer area and Bloom, all those areas where gentrification going on.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the hood area right now of Macon, but there's definitely some nice neighborhoods of Macon. So, but yeah, so you can see these houses are going for $3 grand, 7,500, 2,500, 36,000. What all I want you to do is notice where clusters are. Notice where clusters are, okay? Because understand what I'm saying, right? We just talked about people who have hardships. People who have hardships. As we can scroll out here, you can kind of see where these properties are being sold at. Doesn't necessarily mean all of them had hardships, okay? But we get an idea. We can kind of paint a picture out of this entire county where in the world I should be driving for dollars. Now, if you guys don't know what driving for dollars is, that's literally when you get in your vehicle and you drive up and down the street looking for abandoned properties, right? You look for the abandoned property and you write the address down. After you write the address down, you go ahead and skip trace those people and you call them or you send them a letter saying that you're looking to buy their house. Once we're going to move on every single week here, and we're going to talk about how to negotiate that, the words that need to come out of your mouth. But for right now, what I need you to figure out is, where should I drive? If Fulton County is a huge county, if you don't know this stuff, you'll be driving up and down forever. Now, not to say you can't find deals in these neighborhoods, but wouldn't you rather go to where the most deals are already happening at, right? We've just narrowed this thing down tremendously just by doing something as simple as this. But it's very simple when you look at it now, but if no one shows it to you, you'd be like, man, I don't know where to go. Well, guess what? Now we know exactly the neighborhoods we need to be patrolling, going back and forth, left and right, up and down these roads, looking for abandoned properties. Because if there's an abandoned property, or if this house was bought for, where's that one for 2,500? Let's say this one right here for $15,000. If this house was bought for $15,000, there's probably one or two other houses in this neighborhood that you could get for close to that price range. Okay, this one was not even bought that long ago, less than 6 months ago, in August of 2018 for $15,000. So I want to paint this picture to you. Make sure you guys understand this, man. That means someone just like you and me drove past this house, wrote down this address, did exactly what I just told you, skip trace them, which means look for their name, address, and their phone number, called them and offered them $15,000 for this property, and they said yes. So understand that you can do this. These are things that are being done. All right. So That's one way of finding out the hottest zip code. Super, super simple. Super, super simple, right? Easy to do. All you got to do is go ahead, and if you wanted to bring it down even more, I'm sorry, if you wanted to bring this price range down even more, to 30,000, we could just keep going and narrowing it down farther and farther. We got some down here. We got some over here. Okay.
I seen something that said $325. That ain't right.
Some of them are gifted, right? And some of them, there's sometimes in, so in order for a contract to be enforceable, there has to be something called consideration. Now, consideration most of the time in contracts is money. Sometimes, there's very few times if they're relatives, they can be for love and affection. That's how you write it in the contract. But you could also, like a family member, just say, hey, just pay off, this and, pay off this amount, and it might have came to $325 or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different reasons why those are done. You'll see properties that are sold for $1. That's literally just a legality. Basically, that property was given to them, or it was transferred for somebody's company to within their own company. Like if they have two different companies and they have to transfer it, there has to be some type of consideration in order for the contract to be legal.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so now we can really go ahead and zoom that in, or narrow in these properties. Before I go on from here, does anybody have any questions about this parcel right here? It's pretty simple. If you have questions, go ahead and Zoom has a feature where you can raise your hand, or you can just take yourself off mute. Going once, going twice. All right, cool. Now we're going to go into list source. Has anybody heard of list source before? Anybody? No. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Caleb, I know you have. I don't think anybody else has, since nobody said anything. So I'm gonna tell you real quick. List source is pretty good. Basically, what it does is compiles information from all different counties, all different states, except for South Carolina. I don't know if you guys know, South Carolina cut it down, so list source is not allowed in South Carolina anymore. There might be a couple other states that it's not allowed in, but list source, if you go on there, what they basically do is they compile data. And so what you can really look for on these, as far as this is you can make your own list based off of what's important to you, okay? So what I can do here to find some sellers is I can create my own list, right? Come on, stick with me. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this here. No, this is not what I want. I'm going to do this here live. The only thing is that I'm not going to pay for it because I already got the list. But so what you're going to do is you're going to always choose by county. You're going to choose by county. So you're going to start here first. So I want to narrow it down by county. All right. Then I'm going to go select by state. So obviously the state I'm in is Georgia. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up the county I want. And let's go back to Fulton. Pass it. There we go. And I'm just going to add to it. Now, if I wanted multiple counties, then I could just do that as well. I like to keep, because you're going to get a file at the end of this, I like to keep each county separate. Okay. That's just me personally. All right. So you can see right now, as far as the count is concerned, it's 272,665. That's a lot of people. You get charged by not only by how many records you're pulling, but you also get charged by the data points too. So the more in depth you want it, the more you get charged. All right. Mortgages, I don't care about. You can leave them alone. Don't touch any of them. Property is the main thing. Okay. So the first thing I like to start off with is the style. I'm sorry, not style, property type, excuse me. Not style, property type. Click on property type. And then I want multifamily. Let me just hold on control here. I want multifamily. I want duplex, triplex, quads, and residential SFR. SFR stands for single family resident. And we're going to add those. So all those are there: multifamily, duplex, triplex, quad, and single family residence. Okay. Now that's in my list. That's going to stay there, even though it's going to go away here. Then I'm going to go to, sorry for me to see here. I want equity. All right. So look, you got equity in dollars and you got equity in percentage. Dollars and percentage. You want to pick equity and percentage. Okay. So I'm going to pick equity and percentage. And I just go from here. I just type in 50. Come on. To 100. Okay. We're going to add that in there. So what does this mean? This means I am looking for a property that has 50% of equity all the way up to 100% equity. Equity is the amount of money that your property is worth that you could put in your pocket if you sold it. So obviously, if I buy a house for $100,000 and I've been in it for 16, 17 years and on a 30-year mortgage, I probably have about 50% equity in it. Well, probably about 18 years, I probably have about 50% equity in it, right? So I got about 50% equity in it. So let's say I bought it for $100,000. That means right now it's only I have $50,000 left on my mortgage, because $50,000 is half of $100,000, right? Or if I own my house completely all the way out, straight out, there's no mortgage, then I have 100% equity. So I want everywhere from 50% equity into 100% equity, okay? Other thing that I want, let me see. If you wanted something, if you wanted to add pre-foreclosures, you could add pre-foreclosures into it. If you were looking for a specific bedroom and bathroom configuration, you could do that as well, okay? I don't care about that stuff. What I want, you don't need to worry about demographics. You don't need to worry about foreclosures. What you want right here is, if you see right here, it says owner occupied status. I want absentee owners. What is an absentee owner? Absentee owner, actually, let me take that off. Let me take that off because I forgot to show you guys something. Dang. So when I remove this, right? So remember when I first started, we had 220 something thousand, right? Now we're down to 189 because I picked quads, single families, duplexes, triplexes. We're down to 189,000. Once I put in the 50 to 100% equity, I add that. That brings it down to 48,000. So we dropped down significantly. Like I said, we're not touching this. We're not touching this. Options. This right here, absentee owner. What absentee owner means is someone like me, like this particular property that I'm sitting in front of that we're boarding up. I own this property, but I don't live here. I'm an absentee owner. I'm absent from the property. I own it, but I don't live here. So that automatically tells you that if the person is an absentee owner, that you're either an investor or the property was given to them, or at some point they had it and moved out. Why is that important? It's because they have another place to live. If they don't live here, then they can possibly sell the property. So watch how this brings this number down. It brings it down to 6,600.
Call it night.
Okay, you're done? All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Freezing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. I got it.
Give me 1 second, guys.
All
right. Hey, thanks.
Yeah,
I'll give you a call. All
right.
Thanks. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Sorry. Like I told you guys, I'm boarding this property up, but my guy's leaving now. So that brings it down to 6,600 people that are looking for property. I'm sorry, not looking for property, that are absentee owners, 50 to 100% equity with those type of properties, the single family or the quads, okay? Trustee owned, I don't want trustee owned. I want to exclude them. So a trust is like sometimes people put their stuff in, like corporations, they want to try to hide their stuff. So I have a trust where I want to hide how many properties I have. So thank you. So they'll put it into a trust. You don't want to do that. You don't want to deal with those because it's just harder to find those guys or girls. Corporate owned, I want to exclude corporate. If there's a corporation that owns the property, then 9 times out of 10, that corporation is probably want to turn a profit on it. So they're probably not going to be that apt to sell, okay? So they're probably not going to want to sell, so I want to exclude those. And then here, I want both mailing and property address. Both mailing and property address. So we're at 6,418 people in Fulton County that meet that criteria, okay? Now I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to save, I'm going to do purchase lists. Now, someone could take their, and go off mute if you want. Does anybody have an idea of how I could lower this number? Remember, you're getting charged by every record that's pulled. What do we just do over here? Remember, these properties are people that are absentee owner, right? Absentee owner, equity 50 to 100%, right? When we just did this, with Zillow, what did we change? We kept on changing what? The price, right? The price, correct. So if I was to do the exact same thing and then put in sales price, right? I could significantly drop this number, okay? And all you would do is you go here, you go to equity, and you can go equity and numbers and dollar signs, or here's another one. Oh, last sale date, okay, or last sale price, excuse me, last sale price, and we can drop that number down significantly, okay? But what I'm looking for is, as a matter of fact, let's do this, because that's 6,000 is too high. That's sale price. We'll do 1 to 50,000. So we brought it down to 2,412. So if someone has this property, they don't live in it, they have 50 to 100% equity in the property, and they bought it for less than $50,000 in Fulton County, they probably have a property that we could wholesale. They probably have a property that if we called them, we could get a deal out of. Now, out of 2,412 people, I guarantee you there's deals in this 2,412. 100% positive. Like, that's a no-brainer. Multiple deals. All right. So all we're going to do here, once all that is done, we're going to purchase list. Let it do its thing. It's going to shoot you a price here. So this is a special price. So this is not your price. It would be a lot more than this. But if I wanted to buy this list, because I buy so many lists, I would get this list for $72.36. Okay. I don't even remember what this list would probably cost you $2,400. Caleb, have you bought a list from ListSource?
No, I've never used ListSource for leads, but it's definitely a great resource though, for sure.
Cool. So I want to say this 2,400 list would probably cost somewhere about $400 to $500. For the same price that I'm getting it for $72.36, but I got the hookups. So, but for $400 to $500 to get 2,100 and whatever that number is, 2,412 people that fit in that criteria, there's definitely within that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in wholesaling fees. So for $500, it's well worth it. How do you handle that data? That's a whole nother story, okay? But this right here, all I would do if I want to do this, and actually I would do this. I would remove duplicates. Don't forget that. Remove duplicates from property mailing address, and that should bring it down a little bit. So that brought my price down to $59.49, okay? So that brought my records down to 1,983 versus the 2,400. Sorry, guys. Told you I'm in the hood. So, there's my man stopping here. So So, yeah. So, all right. So we can get this property here for $59. This list for $59.49. What you're going to get with this is you're just going to get a list of addresses and names, and the people and their home addresses as well. So if they were looking up my property right here and I didn't put it into my company's name, they're going to see my name, this property's address, and they'll see my my home of record if it's listed, if I listed it on the deed or when I purchased the property, right? So excellent resource, because now you have the owner of the property's name. You have 1,983 owners who have properties that don't live in them, all right? And they bought them for less than $50,000, and they have they have 50% to 100% equity in the property. So they probably are motivated to purchase. So I'm sorry, to sell. Okay. So let me go back. Let me stop sharing this. Does anybody have any questions before I go off of this, before I stop sharing my screen here?
I have a question.
Yes.
So how did you start all of this? Like, did you take out a loan in the bank? Did you use your Forex trading market to fund this? Like, how did you start?
I actually started, so with wholesaling, I did it the opposite way. I actually got into a flip first, which in my opinion was the wrong way of doing it. I got into a flip first. I lost $10,000 on my first flip because I didn't know how to wholesale. And then my second property that I bought for a flip, I bought from a wholesaler. And once I saw that I bought it from a wholesaler and I paid $7,000 more, then I was really eager to learn how to wholesale. And so I went through a lot of trial and error. I lost a lot of deals. I just learned from other wholesalers. Eventually, I started paying for mentorship. I used to pay someone $100 for every 30 minutes of their time to teach me. And then I took some courses and spent $2,000 on a course that was supposed to teach me wholesale, and they just robbed me for my money. So I spent money learning. But once I got to a certain level where I was proficient, and I could get deals and I could drum up business pretty much whenever I wanted to, then I just started investing more and more of my money into like masterminds. I went to a $2,000 per day mastermind. So these are like, when you get to those masterminds, and that's cheap because some of those masterminds for a day is like $25,000 for one day. But you learn so much. You learn so many different tips and tricks and skills that you just, you end up killing it where everybody else is struggling. You end up killing it. So that's kind of how I got started. I got started by losing, honestly, and getting tired of losing. How much money I started with? I started off with $300 was what I started off with. And I bought a list, and I didn't even make any money off that list, but I learned a lot. I made some money, I made some money out of it, but it was more from just me being out here in the field. And that's how I kind of made my first deal.
So wholesaling and investing are two different things.
No, wholesaling is investing.
Okay.
Wholesaling is investing. So we blanket people as investors. In real estate world, we blanket them as investors, right?
Right.
But in real estate, you really have a couple of different types of investors. So they're all investors. It's just what type of investor are you? So I don't do flips anymore. I just don't really enjoy doing the flips, right?
Flips as in like fixing up the house, renovating everything?
Fixing it, flipping it, and then immediately reselling it.
Okay.
Like you would see on HGTV,
right? Mm-hmm.
Like flip this house. So I'll do like this particular house I'm in front of right now, my rental property. I'll fix it, I'll buy it, fix it, and I'll hold on to it. We call that a buy and hold investor or a rental investor, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's a different type of investor than a fix and flip investor. They're looking for different types of returns. Then you have investors that are investors in like money investors. Like they're the money guys or money girls. So if I want to fix and flip, instead of going to a bank, because I need the money quick, I go to a hard money lender or a private money lender. That's
Right.
a different type of investor.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have wholesalers. We have people like do what I do, and I'm an investor because I invest in the marketing of the product and finding it. So I spend money. You don't have to spend money in wholesaling, right? But at some point when you want to scale, let me just stop sharing this thing. At some point when you want to scale, and you want to start doing more and more deals more frequently, you're going to have to invest, right? And so you're going to invest in lists. You're going to invest in software. You're going to invest in service. Like I'm not calling all, what was that list? 1,900 something people. I'm not calling them. I'm putting them into a system that's going to automatically call them for me. And then I'll have VAs that will do calls, virtual assistants that will do calls, but I got to pay for them, right? They cost money. They're not going to work for free. So you're a different type of investor. You're just you're still investing in real estate, but you're investing in finding the sellers, right? Finding the sellers and then connecting the buyers. So it's all investing. It's just, where do you want to invest your money?
Okay. So I have one last question. So that list that you just showed us, is that the list that, the realtors or the real estate, I forgot what it's called, like APs. I can't remember what it's called, but is that the list that the realtors and the real estate agents get first dibs of? Is that the same one?
Most real estate agents, and I'm a realtor, right?
Okay.
Most real estate agents have no idea what wholesaling is. I've talked to real estate agents that have been in real estate agents, successful real estate agents, people that are like in the top in their office, and they've been in the game for 10, 15, some of them 20 years and don't know what wholesaling is.
They can't be both, can?
No, you can. You can do both. I'm a realtor and I wholesale.
You can?
Yeah, I'm legally, you just have to tell them, and it's in the contract that I thought
that was illegal.
I have a contract right here.
Oh, you mean like if you're like if you're not with the company, then you can't do that? Is that what you're saying?
No, you do. To wholesale, you do not need a real estate license.
Okay. Right.
You don't need a real estate license at all to wholesale. If you are a realtor, all you have to do is let them know that you are a realtor and that you are not operating under your realtor's license, your real estate license.
Right.
And then you want to have it in a contract. I got a contract here. I'm just trying to find it. You probably won't be able to see it anyway. But all you have to do is tell them that, hey, I am not operating in underneath my real estate license, and have them sign the contract. The seller, have them sign the contract, and that showing that you told them this, and you're good to go. You're good to go. You have because basically it's like this. If you're a real estate agent or you're a realtor, can't you have your own company selling t-shirts?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. You can have your own company. You can have your own cleaning company. You can have, so this is just your own, like this is my own company. Cobb Cash Homes is my real estate company, right? But I work for, when I'm a realtor, I work for Palmer House Properties, right?
Right.
So when I'm selling houses like normally, then I put on that hat and I work for Palmer House Properties, which I do very rarely because it's more money in wholesaling. If I do when I'm doing wholesaling, I'm working under Cobb Cash Homes. So because they're both in real estate, I just got to let them know, hey, I'm also a licensed realtor, but I'm operating under Cobb Cash Homes, which is my own company. Has nothing to do with Palmer House. Has nothing to do with the Georgia Association of Realtors. Has nothing to do with any of them. And most of the time they don't care. Because why? Because they're most of the time if people are selling properties discounted like this, they're in a financial bind. This duplex that I bought, the guy that sold it to me, was because he was out of South Carolina. He moved to South Carolina. He had tenants in here, and he got tired of dealing with tenants that weren't paying rent. He was just getting fed up with it, and he just wanted to get rid of the property. So he sold it. He's actually sold me 2 properties, total for $20,000. This one for $16,500, and the one across the street for whatever the remaining is, $3,500. Okay, so he doesn't care that I'm a realtor. He just wants his money.
Oh wow. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions? Or do you have any more questions? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off like that. I was rude.
No, you're fine.
Hey, how long you gonna be in Macon?
Man, I'm trying to figure out tonight. I'm trying to put the rest of these screws in there and these.
I'm gonna get with my people tomorrow, man, and tell them to crank up. So we got a whole bunch of people joining the program within probably next couple of days from making in my hometown or whatever, and they all been telling like, yo, you need to get in real estate down here. Because of the stuff, man. So I'm gonna talk to them and see what we can shake up, man. Cause they know more about all the areas, man. Cause like some of my people, like my auntie and stuff, they in certain areas where they telling me like, just houses just out there just lingering, but I don't know the market out there. Like, I don't know if you buying a house, how long it sit, or somebody that
you the market down here is more of a rental market for most places. There are some fix and flip markets down here, but here's a good tip, guys. I learned how to wholesale in Macon. I live about 2.5 hours away from here. I live 2.5 hours away from here. So I came down here to Macon because it's like if you drive in this neighborhood right now, you'd find probably more abandoned houses than you would find houses
Yep, I'm about to say in some areas there's more abandoned houses, people that's got houses.
Oh yeah. Like I'm not playing. Like I'm in the hood. That's why I'm looking around like this. But investors buy in the hood. This is one of the most important lessons you can learn. I was like I said, I was a cop in Miami. I was doing a burglary report on a house, and this guy pulled up in a nice white Range Rover, a Spanish guy. And I was looking at the house. The house was in Little Havana, tore up. And, he was out there because I had to do the report. And I said, man, why would you have a house out here? This is before I got into real estate. I wasn't really, I didn't know. I was just still learning. So he's like, why would you buy a house out here, man? He said, when you get a chance, just look at who owns all the houses out here in this neighborhood. So I took his advice. I started looking and paying attention to who owned the houses. All the people who own those houses lived on Miami Beach, Sunny Isles, like all the really, really rich areas, Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, all the places where all the affluent people live at, right? And so I come from the hood, where I live at in Jersey, that's, it is what it is, right? But when I look around, when I think about where I lived at, when I think of who the owners were, they were all people that lived in the nice neighborhoods, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with coming from, like I said, I come from the hood, so there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not speaking down about it or anything like that. But you have to understand that the people who want to buy those houses, they probably don't live in that neighborhood, right? But they don't care as long as the money makes sense, as long as the math makes sense. As long as you do some of the things like we talked about on last week's call, figuring out whether or not it's a good deal or not. As long as you do those things, if you present that person a good deal, they will buy, no matter if it's in the hood. We had a house I sold a couple blocks away from it here. Right before we went to go sell it, right before closing, someone got murdered right in front of it, right? They still bought it, right? So those things happen, but people need a place to stay. People need a place to live no matter where they're at. So as long as you're operating ethically, honestly, morally, right, and legally within those realms, you're good to go, right? You just got to find those properties for those people. So why am I saying that? Is because it's a lot easier to find homes in the hood. They're just more plentiful, right? So instead of trying to find the properties that are more difficult to find and then beating your head up against the wall and not understanding why you're not getting any deals, go to where the more plentiful fish are at. Go to the lower end neighborhoods and find those abandoned properties because people are buying there.
That's how gentrification comes about.
It is. Absolutely it is. And it's going to happen, unfortunately, if we don't do something about it.
Right.
So if we don't buy them, guess what? You think, I know you're not saying this because of that, but it's kind of a rhetorical question. If I don't buy the house, someone else is going to buy it. Mm-hmm. It's not just going to not get bought. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. So it's going to get bought. So it's up to us to get those houses, right? And make sure, you know, basically own the neighborhoods that we want to own.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, good stuff though. Good points. Anybody else have any questions or want to chime in on anything?
How much
All right.
money would you recommend having set aside to invest in these properties to start off?
Here's the beautiful thing, Jonathan. You literally don't need to have any money to do this. Like, when I say literally, this is one of the very few strategies that you literally need $0 to start. Well, okay, maybe not $0, maybe a tank of gas, because you could find a house on your very first time driving for dollars. You understand what I'm saying? Because the process. Okay, let me just show you. I'm just gonna show. It's probably easier if I show you versus just talk about it. All right. So, why is this? There we go. I am driving because you just got this class, so you can see how easy this is, right? So now, because you did what I showed you to on Zillow, Zillow is free, right? So Zillow is free, so you didn't spend any money on that. You're on your computer. You click on this house right here, 2237 Carver Drive, right? So you say, all right, 2237 Carver Drive. I'm going to drive up and down this neighborhood, right? I'm going to see this house. Shoot, this house right here looks like it's abandoned, right? The one right next to it. But this one was bought for $3,500. Okay. So let me zoom in a little bit more. I just want to prove this point to you. Where's that house at? 3,500. So this is that house. We said the one right next to it looked like it was abandoned, right? So let's just say hypothetically, because obviously I can't drive there right now, but let's say I'm coming up this street and I bang this left, and I'm like, oh, that's that neighbor. This is the house that I bought for $3,500. Oh, but this one right here is abandoned. 2231, that is the house right next door. 2231 Carver Drive. All right, still free. No money came out of my pocket except for the gas that it took me to drive here. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I can get out of this one right here. And I'll show you this. I'm gonna go to Google first, because if I just go straight to it, it'll just take me, because I go there so often. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna figure out how your county works. All right, I know, or your county or state. So I know that in Georgia, in my county, or in Fulton County, if I go to the Fulton County Tax Assessor's office, I can figure out most likely who owns this house. Okay. In Jersey, where I'm from, where I'm originally from, it's the actual city is the person who's going to record it. So you have to just figure that out wherever you live at. I think you said you live in Michigan, I think. But wherever that is, figure that out, and I'll show you what you do here. So I'm going to go to Fulton County Tax Assessor's office. As you can see, I've been here before because it's highlighted. I'm just going to click on that. Click on here. Move this out of the way. Go to property search down here, right here at the bottom. Hold on a second. All right, sorry about that. Go to personal property search. Oh, I'm sorry. Disregard. Hold up. Click here. I'm sorry, address search. Address search, and then figure out how your particular software wants the data inputted. This one makes it a little bit easier. It actually tells you number here, street here, but you can't put like, what is this? Carver Drive. You can't put Carver Drive. You just have to put Carver. So you just gotta, the instructions are normally at the bottom or somewhere to the left or the right. Just figure it out. But it's 2231. So 2231. And then I'm gonna type in Carver and then Drive. All right. Most of the time the directions don't matter. I'm gonna hit search. All right, boom. So here, Thelma, good old Thelma. Thelma owns this property. This is basically some basic information, is zoning, how many, zoning area R5, location 6, whatever. Residential on this particular one gives you some information on the actual property. The year it was built, 1950, is 1,200 square feet. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 full bath, right? All I need from this now really is her name, okay? Now, sometimes you can go down here to tax information. And if Thelma does not live in the property, let's see if this pops up. It'll show her other address. So looks like she might, hold up, nope. There it is. Oh no, this is her address. Okay, so Thelma, at least she's her where she pays her taxes from, at least is recorded as the same house that is there, right? But remember, this is all hypothetical. We just acted like we drove down this street and this house is vacant. This house might not be vacant, right? But that's literally what you're gonna do, okay? So if this address, once we look this up, Jonathan, if this address was, where'd it go? If this address was, her name and 123 Main Street, Atlanta, Georgia, and we looked at the property address, and that property address is 2231 Carver Drive, well, obviously, and that one's vacant, obviously she doesn't live in 2231 Carver Drive, she lives in 123 Main Street. Now you have 2 options now, Jonathan, and anybody else. You can just be straight gangster with it and just go to 123 Main Street and knock on the door and say, hey, my name is Jonathan. Man, this is exactly how I do it. I say, hey, my name is Tommy. I know this is kind of out of the blue, but, I'm a local real estate investor in the area. And, man, that property on Carver Drive, 2231 Carver Drive, I absolutely love that property. I'm trying to find, 1 to 2 properties to buy this month. And I just wanted to see if you had a moment to chat about selling the property. And I'll leave it like that and I'll shut up. Basically, you give them all the information that they want. All the information they want to know is who you are, why are you there, how'd you get their information, and then you ask them for permission, which is asking for permission to chat. Once they give you permission, this is some of the stuff we're going to talk about later in the course. But once they give you permission, then you hop into, hey, that property again on Carver Street. Like, what are you looking to do with that? And you just shut up and you let them talk, and you look for pain points. We'll talk about that later. But so far, Jonathan, everything that I've told you cost you $0 except for the gas money that you spent in your car. So you see what I'm saying? How you can get into this game with no money?
I do. Yeah, it makes sense. I think most of my other questions just have to do with the rest of the course. What's the next step? Maybe get a little ahead of myself. So I'll definitely start looking for some properties and just to practice this.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. So this is all building on stuff because there's no way I could teach you guys this all in one sitting, right?
Yeah.
No way. So this is building week after week after week. And so I encourage you guys to get on here week after week because like last week, we went over how to analyze whether or not it's a good deal, how to find the comps, right? How to do some of the math formula to figure out whether or not you think this will be a good deal. And what I challenge people to do is to find 5 properties. What I'm challenging you guys to do this week is to go out there, now that you have a better idea of, you should be able to find abandoned properties a lot easier now using the 2 tools that I showed you. Zillow, which is free, and if you wanted to buy a list from ListSource, buy that list, right? If you do that, then you obviously already have the abandoned properties or the properties. You don't need to do anything else. But what I would do, this is what I did with my business. All right. What I personally did, I started off going out finding 25 abandoned properties, at a minimum of 25 abandoned properties every single week. So at the end of 4 weeks, I had 100 properties, right? Now, I didn't wait to get 100 properties before this. So as I got them, I skip traced them. I did exactly what I just showed you. And I wrote them letters. And then eventually I started skip tracing them and calling them. Okay. So I started calling. Here's my ratios. For every 100 properties that I found that were abandoned properties, and for every 100, I got, in the beginning, I would get about 2 deals. And I eventually got good enough where I started to get 3 deals. So out of every 100 abandoned properties, I would get 3 deals. On average, I'd make $10,000 per deal. Now, I could go through 100 properties every single month, right? So what I started to do, I said, okay, well, shoot, if that's my ratio, I just need to know how to multiply that. And so I hired people, and I said, listen, go out and find me 25 abandoned properties every single week. So they would do that, and I got 4 people to do that, right? So 4 people plus me, now that's 500 properties coming in every single week, or I'm sorry, every single month, abandoned properties. So you can see how this thing can scale, right? Once you learn the process. Got it?
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Cool. I think that's about it, man. Unless anybody got questions.
Hey, Tony.
Yes. Let me stop sharing this so I can see who's talking to me.
This is Vic.
Vic, what's good?
So there's a house, like a few houses down from mine in my neighborhood, and they have been doing a lot of renovations lately. And so you think that would be a good property to approach?
There's a house down the street that they're doing renovations on now.
Yeah.
All right. It is, but not for the reason that we just talked about.
Okay.
All right. And this is how I like to teach. So don't take it as me trying to I don't know. Some people take it different ways. I like for you to think it through so you get it, right? So if you see a property and people are working on it, what does that indicate? Do they own the house or do they not own the house?
Not the people that's working on it.
Well, if they're working on it, who works on it? Would you work on a house that you didn't own? Would you put money into a house you didn't own?
Well, no. Oh, yeah, the owner. I mean, yeah, but yeah, those are contracts.
Yeah. So if somebody at that house owns it, it's probably not the person swinging the hammer, but somebody owns it, right? And if they're working on it and it looked like it was an abandoned property and they're now fixing it, what type of owner do you think that is?
Probably rents it out, something like that.
Probably an investor, right? Right. So if they're an investor, remember what I talked about in the beginning, once they get done with that project, what are they going to be looking for?
Sell it.
They're going to look to sell it. And after they sell it and make their money, in order for them to escape capital gains taxes, what are they going to have to do?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's okay. I said it in the beginning, right? So in order for me to escape capital gains taxes, if I hold onto a property less than 12 months, I need to do a 1099 exchange, which means I need to immediately or within 90 days invest that money that I just made into another property, which means I need to buy another property, right? So what I do in that particular case, this is exactly what I would do, Vic. Especially if it's right down the street, it's in walking distance, I would walk out my house, I'd walk down to that street, and I would talk to the people who are swinging the hammers, the people who are with the chainsaws, right? And I'd say, listen, my name is Vic, and guess what, man? You guys are lucky. I am an investor, and I find properties just like this at a discount, probably cheaper than what you purchased this property for. Now, I know you guys. Well, actually, I wouldn't assume that. Don't assume this. So you talk to them like they are the owner, because they very well might be. But you'll say, hey, is the owner or are you the owner of the home? And they're most likely going to say no. Most of the time, the owners are not there. Okay, well, is the owner here? they're probably going to say no. Or if the owner is there, then you just move on through the conversation. If the owner isn't there, then you're going to ask for the project manager. Okay? And that project manager is going to be the person who is in charge of the project. And that person, I guarantee you, is going to have the owner's phone number. And your whole objective of this is to get the owner's phone number because you want to add them to your buyer's list. We haven't gotten to do this. We haven't gotten to adding people to the buyer's list, but you just brought it up, so I'm gonna give you that little tip. I drive around. Not only do I drive around looking for abandoned properties, I also drive around looking for people who are working on houses, so I can go in there and talk to them, let them know what type of service I provide, and I add them to my buyer's list. So when I get a property, I can blast it out to as many possible people as I possibly can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect.
What if there's no property manager?
If there's no property manager, then there's always that one guy or girl that's in charge, you know? So all you're going to be doing is looking for whoever that person is, because whoever that person is going to have either the property manager or, the project manager or the owner's information, because they get paid from somebody. They're not working for free. You know what I'm saying? All right, cool. Anybody else? All right. Nobody got any other questions? We're going to conclude this one and wrap this one up. And I'm going to try to finish up and get up out of here. So, parting words, man. Just make sure you guys, for every property that you get under or that you're starting to work with, listen to me, guys. Hear me out when I say this. I promise you this is going to be worth it. For every property that you get, go find 2 more. Because what did I just tell you? Out of 100 properties, I'll get 3.
Yeah.
So if you get so caught up in that one property that you stop doing work, you probably, I'm just being real with you, the chances are you are not going to get that property wholesaled. You have to do numbers in this game, okay? So don't get so caught up and, I found this one property. Don't get emotionally attached. Do not fall in love with these properties, okay? They are just a house. They're just not a house. They're just an address, okay? Once you get that address, you try to do your best to get through that information and move on and find 2 more. And every one that you find 2 more after that, and then 2 more after that. And I guarantee you eventually you'll get to a point where you're finding more and more properties, all right? So with that, I want to conclude this call and let me get back to work. I appreciate you guys hopping on. Every Wednesday from 9 to a little after 10, we're going to be doing these. So I appreciate you guys hopping on, man. And let's get to work. Find 25 abandoned properties. That is your homework between now and next week. All right. You guys take care.
Appreciate your time.
No problem. Peace.